Hello and welcome back to the NoBS live stream. You got your buddy Brooks here, the host of No Bullshit. We're doing another live stream as promised last week. We said, hey, we did a cool stream with my buddy Marcus. We decided to come back. You guys were real excited about it. I'm happy, you're happy. So let's do this thing again. I got my buddy Marcus here. How you doing, friend?
Doing great. How are you?
I am doing awesome. We are here. We're going to talk about some stories of the day, some fun stuff, some serious stuff. Having your chat there too. I'm going to read all your comments. I see Bubbly and John and Nix are already in the house. Welcome to the show. Here's what we're going to start talking about though. I got this article here. Let me just switch over. Basically, my favorite story right now, it just kind of came out, I think, last night or today. And there's a few steps in the process. I think the first thing started off was Trump sent out a tweet, and it was a classic kind of meme tweet, and it's something we've seen before since the election, since the last few years. The Trump fans like to make cool videos, and they put his face on different clips from movies. You know, like the cool scene, like say in Braveheart, whenever he wins the war, and they put that Trump on there, make it look like it was Trump. You know, just a joke, just for fun. I don't think anyone takes these seriously or thinks they're literal, but there is a side, there are detractors who are getting upset about them. Recently, we had one come up from Independence Day, the Independence Day quote. There's a famous speech from that movie done by Bill Pullman, and as you can see from this tweet I got up here, Bill Pullman isn't too happy right now. Bill Pullman is shading Donald Trump after he posted this clip, and as you can imagine, the clip is a clip from the movie with Bill Pullman playing the president, and instead, this edited version is Trump's face on it. And he basically gives this riveting speech. It's like the main speech right before the end of the movie. The president's trying to hype him up, and Trump does this speech. It came off really funny. I thought it was a joke, but it's become a little controversial. With that said, let me go ahead and bounce back to my co-host Marcus. What are your thoughts initially? Have you heard about this meme yet?
Yeah, I've heard about them over time from other movies in particular. And the funny reaction about that is seeing the reaction given to us by the media who are taking it seriously rather than being like, oh, ha ha, very funny, Mr. President. They're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and that's the funniest part too. And it's actually come up with this meme where it's like they're saying it's doctored. They always go for this like doctored angle. I don't know why. It's so funny. They'd say, "Oh, we found this video that was doctored by Trump's people." And it's like that's trying to make it sound sketchy or illegal or like nefarious. It's like, no, it's just some people editing a video for fun, and Trump shares them once in a while because, you know, it's fun. His fans like it. It gets people amped up. There's really no victim here. There's nothing wrong, but yeah, I just find it funny. And then this instance, we have this case, like I was talking about. Bill Pullman is deciding to speak up when really he should use a little bit of restraint. I mean, this is an honor for Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman should be stoked that people are still talking about his cool movie Independence Day, which, by the way, great movie. If you haven't heard or seen, guys, definitely see Independence Day. It's a bit of a classic now, little bit of, I wouldn't say old school though. I don't think it's dated. Like it holds up. Have you seen Independence Day, Mark?
I don't think I have,
Okay.
but if it is like certified good from many many critics amongst
Yeah.
yourself, I'll definitely give it a try.
Yeah,
See
it's
what I think
certified
of it.
fresh for sure. I don't know if that's official, the tomato meter rating, but I would say, yeah, recommend it. I would say, I guess the only caveats, I mean, it's not like the most amazing movie work of art. It's just like a really fun hero movie. Will Smith saves the world from aliens. Jeff Goldblum is the smart guy, like coming up with some scientific way to stop them. It's a hoot, and Bill Pullman plays the president. It has that awesome speech. I thought this story was funny. I don't think I can show much of the clip here. I had some of it on this one. Let me see what they got here.
Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think people could hear that a little
Now
bit. What's up?
now I'm starting to click on a little bit.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It took me time because like I knew that there were an Independence Day movie, a movie about aliens, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. And I actually have seen the movie.
Yeah,
I just
yeah. It's
I haven't seen the meme that was created
sure.
by the president recently, but
Yeah, that's what I had on the screen for a second. I don't think you can see it right now, but I'm not going to play much more because I think it'll be copyrighted. But basically, yeah, it's this riveting speech. End of the movie. Humans are going up against the aliens. Pretty cool stuff. Like classic kind of these disaster movies were really big. This is like mid '90s. I think this movie was '94 maybe.
right.
It was like Will Smith's breakout movie, made him a movie star. After this, he's been a legend ever since. Besides maybe waning later in his career, you could talk about all that. But yeah, basically, this clip is awesome, and I just think it's funny. I don't think it's on here. These articles I see here that Bill Pullman is kind of shading him, which I think is lame. Like I think he should just let them play with his movie clips. This dude's an actor. But then the other thing I saw somewhere, it was like a tweet where someone said it was doctored, like they're trying to chastise Trump for tweeting like a doctored video. And I just think that whole term is super silly. It's like doctored is trying to make it sound like it's sketchy or something, like, oh, it's they're doing something wrong, like they're trying to mislead people or something like that. Like I don't see that at all. But tell me what you guys think. I see a few more people showed up in the chat, so that's awesome. Welcome to the show. We're going to be doing a little live chat here. Not a lot super serious plan, just having some fun, maybe doing a half hour or 45 minutes talking to you guys. Let me see who's scatting around in here. I see Uncle Ron, Glenn D, welcome to the show. Kentucky Mama, Donald Trump, how dare you? I believe that's the Greta Thunberg, how dare you?
How
And
dare you?
how dare you? And someone
Yeah.
says, hey, everyone from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Welcome to the show, Glenn. All right. We got some Canadians in the house. Despite how it may seem, I don't hate Canada. Let's see here. Things getting back to normal the last few days. Yes, yes. I think that's true here, too. Marcus, how do you feel about things? Have you been getting back to normal at all?
In in terms of like what exactly?
Just have you been going? I think you said you did some traveling, you did some stuff outside. I think people are getting back to normal. I've been going to restaurants, the stores are opening. I think some places have masks, but people have been able to go different places. I think you have too, right?
Well, actually, pre-corona, I actually had a bit of a life myself. I did a lot of traveling with the train, of course. I've been taking regular trips to Chicago, and I was able to take Amtrak across state and almost cross country, technically, because I did leave the state technically, but for a few hours.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, so
so
I,
I think long distance traveling is definitely still not suggested unless it's part of your work. MW says this
yeah.
Wales is still in lockdown. It's horrible. It's been months now. Sorry to hear about that, buddy. Hope you guys are doing well. Eob says, "How dare you?" Someone says, "Boom up." I'm not sure. I think maybe is that about the volume. I don't know if someone's louder. I think Marcus or I might be need to be louder or something. Let me know if the volume's okay about you guys, if that's what you meant, or they're just saying something else. Someone asked, where's NoBS located? Currently in Florida, previously in California. I've been in a few other states too, but yeah. Thanks for asking, Glenn. Uncle Ron says you from Ontario. Then Uncle Ron says Waterloo. I believe that's another Canadian spot. Welcome to the show. I see 26 people watching. We're going to talk about some other topics too. We're going to take your guys' suggestions. So make sure you comment a few things, list out some topics, list out some questions, whatever you can think of. We're going to definitely get to it. Appreciate all that, guys. And yeah. So the next topic, I think someone already mentioned Greta Thunberg. You want to jump into that one next, Marcus?
Um, yeah, when I heard about Greta Thunberg being appointed a panel on CNN, I, no joke, kind of had to put my phone down, and I'm like, that ain't real, is it?
Seriously, it
And
looks
then
like an Onion article, like you're just on a fake, one of those joke articles. It's like, really? It's like, what's next? Like, Captain Crunch is going to perform open heart surgery on the leader of Mexico or something. Like, it's just like sounds like made up baloney. And yeah, I definitely thought that similar things too. Like the Greta Thunberg story, it just keeps going. It's like the gift that keeps on giving sometimes, because you're just like, I thought that was last year. I thought that was almost over. And then on top of that, the other thing was like, she was always about climate change and climate change activism, and that was important, or I guess just more appropriate last year when there wasn't much else going on as far as the environment or health. But then it's like, now we have this pandemic, now we have this virus, and it's like no one really, like, climate change is on the back burner. At least it should be. At least that's what most people are thinking. And then you see the
yeah,
news cycle.
the simmer burner for that matter, yeah.
Yeah, just like set that off on a shelf somewhere, like table that discussion. But that's actually funny, because this instance wasn't even the first one. Because I remember a few weeks back, I think before Greta was mentioned by CNN, it was like she said, "Oh, she mentioned climate change. She tried to bring it back in and being like, hey, we can't forget about climate change. Let's get climate change back on." Like, she's really still super stoked on that topic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
her thing, it makes sense.
yeah.
But yeah, and then now she's on some kind of expert panel, which obviously she's not the biggest expert in the world on anything. I mean, what would you trust a 17-year-old? You could barely trust a 17-year-old to like babysit or watch your house while you go on vacation. Like, the 17-year-old is not someone you're going to take seriously on a news show, on anything. And then I think the chat seems to agree. I see a couple comments already. Glenn is saying, what does she know about anything? She's a high school dropout. CNN will feature anyone that's liberal. Donald Trump doesn't trust China. China is asshole. Yeah, that's a good one. Hold the load, boom up. Where's the guy from? Boom up, Wales. Okay, we got back to those. And yeah, I don't understand it. I think it's just another case. This has been gone over time and time again. And yeah, I think, to reiterate kind of what my video was about for Greta a few days ago, the basics, it's just, okay, first, it's not her fault. We're not like anti-Greta. We're not like going after, her specifically.
Oh, no, no, yeah. I feel very sorry for her
Yeah.
because of how they are taking advantage of her like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pathetic.
Yeah, it's super sad to see, and it's also just exploiting this bad trend on the left. They like to use children as these sorts of props and these sorts of propaganda pushers. They use them as puppets to push their stuff, and then they kind of count on us being human. Humans naturally, you see a kid, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. You think nice things, you want the best for them, you want to believe them. You don't want to, like, it's just they're using that niceness and the kind of generosity people would give to a kid, and they're using that against us. And that's what's going on. It's not necessarily a big anti-Greta thing, even though she's the figurehead of this like bad production that leads off with like her parents, who were also activists and had tried to do stuff like this before. They'd always been chasing fame, and they finally got it when they propped up their daughter, and then all the liberal media kind of latched on, yada yada yada. MS says she's just a big mouth. She's an expert on the environment. How long has she worked in the field? Probably not any at all. And someone says cancel Greta. And yeah, I think it was just kind of the perfect storm. And it was all those steps I was saying led up to kind of this phenomenon. She traveled across the globe. She visited the countries and leaders. She avoided Trump, of course, or Trump avoided her. There was that funny time that Trump snubbed her, and she gave him that look. I remember that right away. But she met with Obama, which is funny. Like, I remember that too. Like, oh, Obama got a meeting and made sure to like give her props, and that was kind of lame and silly, and just classic Obama too, because we're still dealing with this. That was like 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, she also met other key figures in Hollywood, like the most notable one I remembered was or visiting Leonardo DiCaprio, and Arnold Schwarzenegger also got to visit Greta.
Yeah, yeah. What's up with that? I remember that too, and it was like,
I'm like, Greta meeting Arnold. That I don't understand because Arnold is a registered Republican. He
yeah, and
ran
he was a
Republican
governor.
for
He
California.
he
Yeah.
governated California for like multiple years. I forget how long his term was and stuff, but yeah, he
He
was
was here
leading
for a
that.
while.
Yeah, and that was interesting, and that actually reminds me of something else. I don't know if this is a different story or just a tangent, but the funniest is that CNN got super whiny about everyone making fun of them putting Greta on. Crystal Sky says hi Crystal. Glenn makes another good point too. Yeah, it was funny how CNN announces Greta, they get backlash, and then they kind of like, oh, how come you guys just say that? Like, you guys don't make fun of us. We want, like, they just got real whiny after people called them out on the Greta stuff. It's like, why would they have Greta? And then they kind of like try to turn it on us. And they did that classic thing, like, this is the reason they used Greta too. Like, anyone that says anything ill of her or anything negative around what she is doing, they're like, oh, what do you hate kids? Do you hate girls? Like, are you sexist? Like, it's
No, of course not. It's just a move that is pretty pathetic. Like for most political figures tend to look at children as a political bargaining tool.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's what's going on here too. It's like they're using it as this little pawn. They're trying to like, oh, they know that she gets that benefit of the doubt, like I was mentioning earlier. And then if you say anything, like you can't critique a kid who's saying something, especially, you got to also consider they're going for like an easy kind of target in a lot of ways. I mean, climate change has a lot of people debating it and certain aspects of it, whether or not how intense it is and what we should do, all that. But besides all of that, that's all its own thing. But what I'm getting at is, it's just like it's an easy message. It's like everyone should get behind save the planet. You know what I mean? It's like a green kind of hippie message. Like basically we're trying to save the planet. But in this day and age, it's not like when I was a kid. Like when I remember back in the day, it was like save the rainforest or like save the whales. And it was just like
Yeah,
real general stuff. But
save the whales. I
yeah,
think it was
that.
also whales and dolphins, but that was a move against Japan.
Yeah, they have those bad practices with the fishing, and then yeah, there's just what I was going back to, and this is actually something that was discussed on South Park. That's why I've seen that episode before, and there was like the whole episode about the Japanese hunting the like sharks and whales. But yeah, the point is, this day and age, back to now, it's like there's no save the whales or save the bears or whatever. It's like climate change, and everything's like more political now too. Because even back then, you could say a lot of that activism was like probably left wing or probably like liberal inspired, but it was also just kind of neutral, where it was like, okay, even right wing conservatives or left wing, like everyone wants to save the whales. You know what I mean? Like no one's against whales. Like at least like at the basic point of it. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of conservatives that will be against the cause. You might talk about how that certain charity is corrupted or something, but the general message is just so nice and positive. It's similar with climate change, because climate change is just kind of like a more technical way of saying let's save the planet, like let's save Earth. And that's why they're going with that message. But the problem is that gets way more political than they lead on. Like they want to pretend, and this goes back to not just Greta too. Like a lot of the AOC's platform and stuff is based on like saving the planet, and it's like them trying to use that charity case to like push their left wing socialism.
Yeah, and the thing about going green actually, it's kind of like fight fire with fire or a rock breaking a rock. Trying to go green actually makes certain things more like it doesn't add up. It just makes things more polluted, if you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. My dad wanted to bring that point in on the one day. He was You know how they tend to
Yeah,
bring those hybrid cars? A lot of those hybrid cars are from China, and the battery parts come from China.
Sure.
How do they get there? They get loaded onto a freighter. How much uh, how much emissions do you think a freighter is giving off as it sails from
Mm-hmm.
China to Cali? A
Sure.
lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then the other thing, I think could see another way you're going too is like it's always a trade-off. So we're talking about stuff like, for example, I brought up AOC, and she has this Green New Deal plan, and most of it's about like switching to electric cars and stuff. But
Yep.
there's multiple issues with that, and it's similar to what you're just saying because it's like, yeah, hopefully we could switch more cars to electric, but we still have to make electricity. How do you make electricity? There's mostly it's like coal powered power plants and stuff, and
Yeah.
you can make clean electricity too, like if you're near a dam, or you can get the real solution is like a nuclear power plant is like the cleanest one. Now those things have danger too, and they could have you got to have really careful security, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's a trade-off is the point. And the other point there is they don't really talk about nuclear power, and
Yeah, because
it's kind of interesting because it's like, if you really wanted to get as green as possible, AOC and Greta would be going nuclear, but they're not. And I think it shows that they're not necessarily doing things the way that we really think. They have some kind of ulterior motive.
yeah, I mean we saw what happened in Chernobyl.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, imagine if we had something like that happening here in the United States, where if we had a nuclear meltdown and a large portion of the country would have to be literally quarantined from that particular area, because if you were in the vicinity of it, the radiation would kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So, yeah.
that's something that's come back to light recently too. I mean, there was that pretty awesome Chernobyl documentary, or not documentary, Chernobyl like drama series on HBO. It came out a
Oh
few
yeah.
months ago, and it had a lot of gruesome details. They went into a lot of the way the radiation got people and stuff. And there's definitely a downside. Like nuclear has these drawbacks, but I think realistically there hasn't been any kind of modern meltdowns like this. Chernobyl was like the last big one in the 80s, which isn't really that long ago, but I guess I would just hope the newer facilities in America would be more up to code and 100%. This Chernobyl situation, especially if you watch the series, it's like you could tell there was a lot of like just corruption in the Russia. Russia's just had a bad communist government, and they also just had an old facility that was like really old and not properly kept. So there are ways to get around that, but basically the point is nuclear is the way to go, but not a lot of people talk about nuclear when we're going towards the environment stuff. I don't think I've ever heard Greta or AOC bring it up at all. And I'm just wondering what their thoughts are. And then, yeah, we have those trade offs discussions, like you were saying, like they try to pretend electric is just like the end all be all, and we'll just be able to save the whole world off of one switch. But that's just not the full picture. And yeah, that brings us back to Greta. I think we kind of wrapped that topic up. I see a lot of comments in there, some new stuff. If anyone has any new thoughts, I know we had one more video idea. We'll get to that. Something else we're going to talk about. But let's see what's up. There's 36 people. Shout out to the chat. Alex says they would also go after China. Chernobyl lied, and it was older reactor design. Yeah, it was real old. Like it was that happened in the 80s, but that plant was like super old and like not kept up well. Only 1% of lithium is recycled by the car batteries. What are you going to say when the Earth actually cools down before getting warmer? Human shields are blank arguments for a point. Digging out the stuff for electric car batteries is worse than digging for oil. Yeah, those car batteries are really hard to dispose of. I mean, those are big things too. Like it's like this giant. I mean, I don't know. I think electric batteries might even be bigger. How dare you? Texas cure climate change, guys. Oh, taxes cure climate change. Okay. Okay, good thoughts, guys. Wrapping up the Greta segment. What was the other topics we were mentioning before the show, Marcus?
We were talking about it was something that had to do with the video that was, oh yeah, Attorney General Barr.
Yeah, there was another video thing, and that's actually, yeah, that's a good example to go back to, because we recently talked about Chuck Todd was the guy at NBC News, I believe, NBC Nightly News, and they kind of misedited AG Barr. This was a week or so ago, and it's just funny to bring that back because, yeah, we were talking about stuff being doctored, and they say, like, oh, Trump doctored video of him in Independence Day, but it's like, dude, no, that's just a funny edited video done for fun. And then at the same time, we have other liberals, like, legit, I wouldn't say doctored ever, but this is a more of a situation, like, they deceptively edited that video to make AG Barr look bad. Like, it was even so obvious. Like, if you watch the clip on the show, like, you could see him trying to talk as they, like, silence him in the clip because they don't want him to say the next sentence that kind of clarifies everything.
Yeah, that was very, very pathetic on their part, and this is it's like a level of scandal where, someone's probably going to have to get fired, but knowing them, probably a slap on the wrist and probably a unused apology, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I haven't heard anything else since that happened. So, I mean, I think, Trump was saying, like, he should get fired or something. Like, Chuck Todd is supposed to be this, like, big-time news guy. And Meet the Press is actually, like, a really classic show that's been on for, I think, really long. It's like the oldest news show ever, one of the oldest shows. So to see them kind of stoop so low makes it even worse. Looks like Eric has another topic here we can try. It says, how you feel about Quintel, the creator of Regular Show, new show Close Enough, that is going to be on Max Original HBO Max July 9th. I haven't heard about this one. Have you heard about this show?
Actually, no, I have not.
Okay.
What do you know about it?
I don't know much. I know that Regular Show is really good. I've definitely watched that before. I need to get through the later seasons. I've watched a couple of good episodes, but Regular Show is just a funny Cartoon Network comedy, good stuff. Rick and Morty is violence. Every episode is like 10 hate crimes. That's a good point. We can talk a few things about cartoons, and then I think we'll go to Lily Singh. I saw someone mention Lily Singh, so maybe we'll get back to that. But let's do cartoons. Were you going to say something else, Marcus?
Yeah, I was going to say to Jay, I do enjoy Rick and Morty, but I haven't seen the fourth season, so please don't.
Yeah, I was thinking the news episodes just started coming out again too. Like, I think there's one or two more from the last few weeks, and then they like kind of split up this season. Like, there were 4 or 5 episodes last year, and then now they're gonna do 5 more, I think. And Rick and Morty is always awesome though. Rick and Morty is tight. Love that. I'm always looking forward to that. And I'm excited to hear about this Regular Show. Regular Show has a new show from the creator, and that's going to be on HBO Max. That's something that interests me too, because HBO Max is like this new streamer, this new like Netflix alternative that, I mean, could be good. I don't think I'm going to get it. I don't really get a lot of those services. Like, I kind of tend to watch things in other places, but it's cool. Like, and especially what I like is, and this is what I liked whenever they came out with Disney Plus, which is kind of the last new streaming service from last year. And it always brings new shows. Like, what's cool is it's cool to see them trying right now. And, Netflix led the charge, got the streaming records, started making all these shows. And then next, other people are following. Hulu's making them now, Amazon. So it's cool to have some new content. And I'm always up for options, And I mean, not all of it's good or what I would like, but have you watched any shows like that, Marcus? Do you know which ones I'm talking about, like Netflix or something?
Yeah, I watched Netflix and Hulu, but I haven't seen Hulu in a while. My subscription expired, and I don't know how their membership thing works. Like, their thing runs on dollars, and I'm like, but how many dollars is it for a month?
Right. Yeah, they got confusing too. I think the thing now, though, is actually that Hulu is bundled with Disney Plus. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to double check, but there was a thing like it was like you could get Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu, and it was like $15 a month. Yeah,
That's interesting. And yeah, if
Yeah, check this
all
out.
right,
It says get all three for 13 a month. I mean, that's pretty legit. If I was looking for something to watch, I mean, I've already seen all these movies and stuff, but The Mandalorian was really good. That's almost worth it to give it a try. I like The Mandalorian. I like Family Guy, Star Wars, all that stuff. But the one we were talking about is the new one is HBO Max. And I will admit, here's what I will admit. First of all, this is getting a little excessive because there's so many streamers now. It's like getting ridiculous. It's like Hulu,
yeah.
HBO, Netflix, blah, 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 blah. Like they're all trying to get a lot of money. So there is that. I admit that. But I think on the positive side is, there is a positive side. We're getting more content in a lot of ways. We're getting these options for shows. Disney Plus has had a lot of cool shows that could be cool. There's more coming. The one we were talking about, HBO Max, has another one. And then the other thing I was thinking of is there's like a Rick and Morty show, like a new Rick and Morty like spinoff.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's on Hulu. Yeah, it's called Solar Opposites.
Ah,
That's what I
and
thought of when someone in the chat started talking cartoons, and I was like, "Yeah, there's this Solar Opposites, and it's like Rick and Morty creator has a new show on Hulu, basically."
and the follow up on Jay, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows. I want to make sure the message is out.
Sure.
If you want to look up some very, very extremely politically incorrect cartoons, there's two, one on Hulu and one on Netflix.
Hmm.
It is Brickleberry. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah, that show's good. That show's good.
You have Brickleberry on Hulu, and then you have Paradise PD on Netflix, and they just came out with part two, like very recently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if
Yeah,
you want to
those are
look for
good,
that,
and I remember you told me about them a few times, and we always talk about these shows because we love South Park too. Like a lot of people come to No Bullshit for South Park. We love talking about that, so I appreciate that, by the way, guys, and that's why it's cool to talk about other shows. And then this actually reminds me as another topic. I am going to get back to covering some cartoons and some reviews. Like I have the South Park Explained. I've done a few Family Guy Explained, and I actually think I'm going to do another one, especially if you guys are interested. If you hear me out, or you know what I'm talking about, let me know. But there was a recent Family Guy episode where they like made fun of Kickstarters, and they like started their own Kickstarter on a new episode.
wow,
And
that's pretty delayed
yeah, yeah, I mean that.
because
What's up?
South Park. Yeah, South Park talked about that back in like 2014, 2015.
I know. I
So I
know.
wonder
That's true.
why
That's
now?
true. And I thought about that too because every time, like, Family Guy talks about stuff sometimes, it's so late. Like, they'll talk about, like, Twitter, and they're, like, way behind on, like, all these jokes. And I'm like, damn. But, yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up in the episode. But then at the same time, it still is funny and, like, interesting to talk about the Kickstarter stuff. Like, Kickstarter's so dumb. We could always go back to that. So I kind of thought about that. And then some other people actually recommended, when I was on, I think, Twitter, they recommended some other cartoons to cover. I think we actually talked about this one. Did you ever watch Big Mouth?
Big Mouth? No.
Okay. Yeah, that's one I couldn't watch. Like, it's kind of cringe, and it's not necessarily good, but there was an episode that had some politics in it where it's like someone recommended I cover it. It's called I don't know what the episode's called, but they did one about toxic masculinity. So someone was like, "Hey, no bullshit, you should cover Big Mouth toxic masculinity episode." I think that could be good because it kind of fits in with we like to cover cartoons and topical things. So I mean that could be fun. It's kind of like not necessarily the same thing either because we love shows like South Park that we usually cover. Even Family Guy most of the time is really good. But other times we've covered crappy shows too, like The Simpsons is one that's come up a few times. That's not the worst show. I mean, I used to love The Simpsons back in the day, but it's definitely fallen off and lost quality over the years. And that was actually another show someone else recommended covering a Simpsons episode. There's like an episode they did last year where they made fun of like lady reboots, and I think I never got to it at the time. So I think there's a few of those shows that we could do, and if you guys are down, just let me know either in the chat or something, comment. But yeah, I was thinking about covering some of those episodes, and just talking about them's fun too. So let's see if there's anything else to say here. I see some other people talking cartoons.
Yeah, I was chiming in as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Melvin says Big Mouth did click for me. I get it, but it's not for me. Yeah, that's what I felt like too. Like I felt like it was super cringe, and it tried to do too much of this like gross out. I don't know. It was always about like it's about kids going through puberty and stuff, and it's kind of a little on the nose and a little cringe. Not the same, but still good. Disney soon will absorb you. Greta versus Magalorian. Yeah, Paradise PD on Netflix has 2 seasons. That's you, Marcus. Yeah, Paradise PD is good, but here's the thing. I know it gets a bad rap, and I've seen some people and some videos about it because it's kind of like one of those shows where it's similar to like Family Guy, I think, where it's like it's just
it makes South Park and the most offensive shows at the time they look like children's shows.
Yeah,
Brickleberry and Paradise PD, they'll push it to the very, very they'll try to cancel themselves.
Yeah. They just say the harshest, like they're just like it's really dirty and like rated R. Just whatever you can imagine, like dirty jokes talking about sex and stuff like that. Lots of weird stuff. But I like it too. Like I just like a lot of these shows like just for fun. My favorite still I think always going to be like a South Park. Like that one has the perfect mix of like comedy and messages and like good story. But yeah, these other ones are fun to watch too. Brickleberry someone asked if Brickleberry has new episodes. I think Brickleberry's like done
3 seasons.
Yeah, it was like a show that was on Comedy Central a while back.
Yeah, back in the Obama years. That's why I tried to get you and everyone else to talk about it, because the weird thing is Brickleberry was on during the Obama years, and even during the Obama years it was very politically correct. And Brickleberry being a very politically incorrect show, I'm surprised I didn't hear any SJWs talk about this show.
Yeah, I know, and it was like back then too. Even I think you're talking about it was probably like 2014 or something.
It debuted in 2012, and its last season went all the way up to 2015.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because what I was thinking, like just like how you were saying, there's a year, there's not a specific year, but by 2014 and 2015 is when stuff turned way more PC. So it had to come out like kind of before that to get in the under the radar, and people would still kind of like let shows be whatever, edgy, racy, talk about controversial stuff, make dirty jokes. But ever since then, it's like almost none. I mean, there's still stuff that happens. Like it's not like South Park stopped being doing what they do. Like, because they're a classic institution, no one's going to be able to touch them. But as far as like other shows, like the mainstream media, the leftists, Twitter review people, all those assholes, like they've gone after anything that's even remotely edgy.
You're right.
Yeah, and then there's a good example of that too. Actually, it's a video on this channel. This is the second channel. Let me just update you guys, and then I'll get to it, because I think this is a relative point. Whoa, hey, I'm back on camera. How you doing? Thanks for watching this stream. We're actually going to wrap up in a few. Having lots of fun, though, by the way. And thank you guys for subscribing. This is, of course, NoBS News. So this is the second channel, recently rebranded and renamed that. But it's been here for a while. We've got lots of videos on it, lots of old streams right now, and also new streams. We've been going kind of once a month. Marcus joins us usually, and then other people have kind of come in and out, and just we have member streams here. And then on top of that, I started releasing extra videos on this channel. So if you want to subscribe, if you're not already subscribed or have your notifications on, I'm trying to do an extra video here like every weekday, so you could have like a third video. So the current schedule for NoBS is like main channel, I'm doing 2 videos a day, mostly like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and then a third one comes out on here just kind of as a bonus. And I'm trying to get this channel going on its own too. Like hopefully we can get this one to another level. Like we're almost to 9,000 subscribers right now, which is pretty cool. Been a lot of fun, and the new videos are doing pretty well too. I mean, they're still growing, but we're getting, at least we're getting 100 likes per. We're getting people watching. Eventually, we'll get a couple thousand views each, and hopefully, we can spin this thing off and maybe even do more videos here one day. Whatever you guys feel like, however it works out. I'm down for these streams, which is kind of like a thing we're trying to this week, doing them like possibly weekly. Hopefully we can come back and do like a Sunday afternoon thing. And then the other thing I was going to mention, back to the topics, is we're talking about comedy and humor and kind of like when it was okay to joke about stuff, when it wasn't. And this is actually one of the more popular videos on this channel that's related to this. And it was about the movie Tropic Thunder. So the every once in a while Tropic Thunder gets like exposed as being offensive because it had a lot of edgy jokes in it, and it had a lot of like basically Robert Downey Jr. dresses up like a black dude. Ben Stiller dresses up like a slow person. There's a gay guy who pretends to be straight and he's black. And there's like all these real like racy, edgy characters. And at the time, it was funny. It was fine. Everyone liked Tropic Thunder. Back in 2008, it was still okay to do these kinds of jokes. But now we're 12 years later. Doesn't seem like it's too long, but a lot has changed. And I think that ties back into what we were talking about before. Like we were talking about the comedies, and that was specifically to those cartoon shows, which have definitely changed too in different ways. But at the same time, it's happened in movies and other stuff as well. And let me, before we go, let me pass it back. Marcus, did you see that movie Tropic Thunder? You know what I'm talking about?
No, not really. I haven't really seen them.
No worries. It's kind of old now, but it's still good. So anyone that's interested, that's still a good movie. And then the other things we were talking about was the cartoons. And I think what's happened with the cartoons, there's kind of like a new phase now, because first it was, we had the last era of edgy stuff pre-2014. Brickleberry was like right on the end of that. And then there's kind of this PC era, which has been going on now for, what was that? That was 2014. Six years or something. And I think it's finally splintering off because, well, now that there's all these streaming services, like they can try to have edgy cartoons again. And that's kind of what I was trying to get to, was just that, now that we have all these options, it's like they realize, we can't put these edgy things on TV. We can't put rated R stuff even on like a HBO anymore. Like they might get attacked. But if they have this new streaming site, they're talking about Hulu, or even like HBO Max or something, they can actually experiment more, and it's getting this new kind of thing that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm curious. Like, I want to see what that new Rick and Morty show looks like.
Yeah, I'd be pretty interested in watching that, seeing it being created by the same people.
Yeah, and it reminds me, like, I want to see them do more things. And like what kind of bothers me about Rick and Morty sometimes is it's a good show, but it sometimes it takes so long to get new episodes. Like, I wish they could have a more regular schedule. Like, I mean, I know they still do what they can, but I mean, even South Park, you always want more on these good shows.
Yeah, it's usually the high demanding shows that tend to take about a year to get a new season, but yet even while the season is still in progress, they're pushing out articles saying that they already greenlit a few more seasons. So we're like, okay, so we have a few more years covered. But there's another show I forgot to mention, but it's not as edgy, offensive as Brickleberry and Paradise PD. But there's this other sitcom called F is for Family. With comedian Bill Burr.
I heard that was good too. I haven't gotten to that either, but that one looks good.
It's great, dude. You got to check that out.
That's cool. Yeah, for sure. And then, that reminds me, the thing. Yeah, I'm glad they're making, and they ordered like a ton of Rick and Morty recently. Like, I think they have like 3-year contract or something. But the problem was, it's just like they always are delaying it, and that's why I really respect shows like South Park that does like 10 episodes every year. Like, they're not like, that's their tight schedule. And then
They used to do like 12 and 14. Now they limit it to 10.
Yeah, yeah, they've done. It's been a while though. They've done 10 a year for like 8 years now. Like they've kind of just settled on like we're doing 10 every fall. But it used to be like a split season, and yeah, it was like 10 in the spring, 10 in the fall, or like 8 and 8
Yeah,
or something.
I thought I remembered seeing something like that when I
Yeah.
first started watching South Park. I started watching South Park when it was still in its 11th season,
Mm-hmm.
but season 12 going into season 13 is when I really began to watch it, and that's the one thing that kind of threw me off. They aired 5 or 6 episodes, and then they like stop, and
Yeah.
then like a couple months go by, they start airing more, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the schedules could get frustrating too, because like the other one I could think of is like The Simpsons and Family Guy are good because you know they're gonna have like 20 episodes a year, and they always come back in the fall. But sometimes they'll like delay, and the break between the fall and the spring or whatever, like after Christmas. Like sometimes they don't even come back until like March, and you're like 3 months are waiting, and just the schedule spreads out sometimes. But what I do
Yeah.
give them credit for is they make a lot of episodes every year. Like it's like 20 a year. So I mean that's good, but it's also what kind of waters down their shows. Where it's like Simpsons and Family Guy are probably on the lower end for a lot of people. I still just kind of always have a soft spot for Family Guy because I grew up with it. But I still recognize, it's just sometimes it's just real dumb, but it's funny. I still think it's funny.
Yeah, I've seen shows like The Simpsons and King of the Hill growing up, but then at a certain point, they pretty much banned the sitcoms from TV just because of how impressionable I was, and they didn't want me to watch that stuff. Even in my teen years, they were like, "Nah, man, you're not watching that."
Hmm.
But but once I was in high school, that's when they pretty much lifted that ban, and they were like, "Yeah, you could watch whatever you want, just don't watch it too much."
Hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean. And that reminds me too, like when I first watched Simpsons was like after school reruns. It would be like on like I don't know, it was like after school like 4 or 5 or something, like every day the Simpsons. I think it was like 6 actually, now that I remember it. It was like 6 p.m. every day there was a Simpsons rerun. And by the time I was watching it, I mean, I was watching it in the maybe like the mid 90s. So it already had been on for a while. Like it was still I think it came
About
out in like
10,
80, eighty
about
nine or
10 years.
something.
Yeah, so by then it would have been about 10 years or so.
Yeah, so it was like it already had a lot of episodes to rerun, and then that's how I caught up on it as a kid, and that was nice. And I think it just shows that the schedule matters a lot, and like regular new episodes helps. Like, and that's what I think. That's a criticism for Rick and Morty. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just like sometimes I feel like you wait like 2 years for a season. And I can't
Yeah.
stand when they skip a year and then they come back and then it's like there's this it's just if it's regular it's better I guess, but I won't dog them too much because it's still a good show. EQ says love your channel, love your comment. Thank you for that. We are going to wrap up this live stream soon. It's like the Borg mutated with I Love Lucy. A non-cartoon question. Why are you pro that? Conservatives are anti that, and some are libertarian on the subject. Well, good question. Rick and
Mhm.
Morty shouldn't be so spread out now that the Hugh episode from Adult Swim and Lloyd in Space episode. Okay. Why am I pro that green stuff? I mean, I just don't have a problem with it. If people want to have it, that's fine. It's not negative or it never hurt anyone. It's not fatal or addictive. It's just a little thing. I don't really think a lot about it. I'm being a little careful. It's hard to talk about on this channel on the internet because they're kind of strict. But yeah, it's not really a big deal for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
I try to look at stuff like that in a more libertarian way, but I don't know 100% by definition like libertarian because the way my friends explain it, they'll say stuff like, "Look, man, I don't care what you do in your life, as long as you're happy with what it is you're doing, pursue it.
hmm
We ain't
hmm
gonna, I ain't gonna stop you."
Yeah, and if it doesn't hurt you or hurt anyone, and it's like It's not that bad. It's cheap. The other thing I was gonna say, I don't really believe that position that like conservatives are anti-green stuff. Like I can understand that might be like what you think from the past. It sounds like old school to me though. Like I don't think that's like a conservative thing. I think most cons just don't care. Like they might say, "Hey, don't be lazy." Like, no one wants you to be like just playing video games and eating junk food all day. Like you don't want that. Like that
Right.
kind of like stereotypical green user. But as far as just like using it or like having it once in a while, like it's not that big a deal. And I don't think that's like a conservative stance.
Yeah, certain trains have been becoming more and more greener, and they've been coming out with more approved engines that give off less emissions.
Hmm.
Because when you look at videos from like the 80s, 70s, and 90s, I mean, a lot of these engines, diesel engines, they output a lot of black smoke, and you're like, yeah, that don't look good. But if
Yeah.
you but if you watch railfan videos now, I mean, they still output smoke, but it's not black smoke or cloudy cloud of some sort. And
Hmm.
some engines have like little if no emissions whatsoever.
That's
So
cool.
the trains have been getting a bit greener lately.
Always could be greener. Always good to have our train expert Marcus speaking up for the rail fins in the room. Always great to hear your guys' comments and your support. I appreciate the 32 people watching. We got 27 likes. That's great, guys. Make sure you leave your chat. Make sure you leave a comment, some likes. We're going to wrap things up here. I'm going to say bye to a few people, read a few more comments. Reminds me of Futurama, another great cartoon.
Oh
Libertarian
yeah,
definition: keep the
yeah,
government out of your bedroom and your wallet. Well put.
yeah.
Little Bush or our cartoon president. Little Bush was actually a funny show, I think, on Cartoon Network. Or, no, I think it was on Comedy Central. And Lloyd in Space, we read that one. A non cartoon question, I read that one. Uh, yeah, good. I think we got caught up. I'll just shout out to a few people: Alex, Melvin, Nix, and EQ, Joe. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to wrap things up. Thank you most of all to my co host, Marcus. Thanks for coming on. You're the best.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, man. Always fun to have you. Always welcome. We like talking about stuff. We like chit chatting, get into the news, talking a few fun things too, like cartoons, politics. We're just a group of this is no BS news. We're cool people doing cool things in a cool place. Make sure you guys come back. We'll try to be back on Sundays going forward. We'll have a tentative more of a schedule maybe later, but maybe we'll come back next week. You want to try next week, Marcus?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, 31 people watching. This is amazing.
Yeah, we're totally turning it up. Hopefully,
It's
you
like,
guys can all come back. I appreciate your time, comments, effort, all of that stuff. Really great. More videos on the way, too. I'm planning to release some more on my main channel, this second channel, all over the place. So just stay in touch. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get the notifications. Everyone, have a great day. You're the best. Awesome time. Sayonara. Adios. Arrivederci.
bye, everybody.